The UFC can be pretty wild, and when new contracts come up, things can get even more mind-blowing. Right now, Francis Ngannou's contract is coming to an end, and he has a few requirements that he wants before re-signing with the UFC. We'll check out what he wants and if he'll get it, and then we'll go into all the mind-blowing UFC news, like who wants to beat up Jake Paul. Francis Ngannou is getting ready for his last bout of his current contract with the UFC. He'll be defending his UFC heavyweight title against Ciryl Gane. After that, he'll need to decide what the future holds for his career. One thing he does know is that he wants his future to include boxing, and he has said that if he does agree to re-sign a contract with UFC, then he would need them to include a clause that allows him to have professional boxing fights too. He has said that he can't see himself eventually retiring without giving boxing a shot. He would love to go up against some of the big names of boxing like Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, etc., because he would really want to test himself on their level, hoping that he could get some shots in and do some damage. It would be a cool idea if Ngannou could pull it off and get the contract from the UFC. It would open up the fighters from UFC to be able to participate in a bunch of different other fighting sports. But would he be able to convince the UFC? That's the question. But would Dana White allow it? As the president of the UFC, Dana White would have the final say in any contracts and decisions. But it doesn't sound like it would happen if he had his say. The thing is, Francis Ngannou and his manager, Markel Martin, have both had some issues with Dana White. It doesn't sound like he feels super keen to change things up to accommodate Ngannou's wish to get involved in boxing. When questioned about the new contract and what the fighter would like to include, White simply said that everyone needs to make their own decisions in life. Martin, on the other hand, has said that he and his client are willing to make a deal and that the UFC knows where to find them. But it doesn't sound like they want to play ball. For now, it sounds like both parties have come to a standoff and that they aren't managing to agree to a deal. It'll be interesting to see whether or not anyone is willing to give in first and who it will be. For now, it doesn't sound like there's a lot of hope that we'll get to see Ngannou fighting in the boxing ring, except if he decides to let his career in the UFC go and focus on moving on. It'll be interesting to see what the future holds. Next, could an unranked UFC newcomer be the champion soon? According to lightweight contender Michael Chandler, this might happen. He hasn't managed to get his own championship, but now he has shared that he thinks a new young fighter in his gym has what it takes to become the world champion in the next few years. It sounds like Chandler is really impressed with his teammate Ian Gary. He recently spoke about the young fighter and how he believed that he had a really bright future ahead of him. He has the body type to become a great fighter and the confidence in himself to push himself to the limits, something that's really needed in a world where a lack of confidence can be your downfall. He's also an Irishman, and that part of the world has been known to produce some of the best fighters. Ian started making a name for himself before signing with the UFC by competing in Cage Warriors and taking the welterweight title over Jack Grant at CW 125. It's going to be awesome to watch his career and rise to stardom. Up next, Henry Cejudo wants to beat up Jake Paul. Cejudo's technically retired, but he's still under contract with the UFC, so he can't organize his own fights outside of the UFC. He has hinted that he would like to have a comeback and get back into fighting with an epic fight. He now seems to have his sights set on two different people that he would love to face in a bout. He wants to fight Alex Volkanovski, who would have been facing Max Holloway in a trilogy fight, but thanks to injury, Holloway had to pull out. Now Cejudo has asked Dana White to pay him to get into a fight with Alex and that he would beat up Jake Paul for free. I'm pretty sure that Dana would love to have someone beat up Jake Paul, but he also said that he would never work with him. And Jake Paul has had his own list of requirements for ever fighting in the UFC. I doubt a fight between him and Cejudo would eventually happen though. Would you love to see a bout between Jake Paul and Henry Cejudo? Or see Francis Ngannou having a boxing fight with one of the big boxing contenders? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you. Up next, we'll check out the fighter who's in hiding, the fighter that has some harsh words for haters and more, so stick with us. Now let's take a look into Kamaru Usman's words to his haters. People on the internet think that they can say whatever they want to say because they're anonymous and they don't have to face any consequences for their actions. And I think when it's on accounts for stars, athletes or so, that can be even worse. People have a lot of thoughts and opinions and they share them openly on social media, even when it isn't particularly nice or wanted. And it seems like Kamaru Usman has had enough of the haters on Snapchat. One night in the early hours of the morning, he went off on his Snapchat followers. He said that whoever they are watching his story, they need to go choke themselves and that their life is centered on others. And then he said, better yet, kill yourself. It was pretty mind-blowing. I get it, he was fed up with everyone, but telling people to kill themselves is never okay. But some people even believe that his account was hacked since it had been in the past. But nope, it was all him. The next day, he tried to clear things up, not to apologize really, but just to clear it up. He explained that he loves his fans, but there are always one or two haters that watch his stories just to hate. And to them, he was saying to kill themselves. It's still wild, but I'd kind of love to know who those few people were. Next, Cheyenne Vlismas in hiding. After one of the best fights of her life, Cheyenne Vlismas has gone into hiding. and she's not sharing where she is or why she has been forced to go into hiding in the first place. 2021 had been one of the most difficult years of her professional life, and it ended in an incredible fight against Mallory Martin at UFC Vegas 44. It was pretty awesome, and the bonus from the win helped her get out of a really difficult financial situation. Her family didn't want her to fight in the first place, but she did, and she did so incredibly well. Then some personal stuff happened right before and after the fight that forced her to go straight from Vegas to an undisclosed location in the United States. She isn't saying where she is or why she's there, only that some things need to be sorted out before she can return to her career, and that the uncertainty is making her cry. She hopes that she'll be able to return by summer. She did say that she has been really focused on staying fit and making sure that when the time comes, she could be fighting fit and ready to go. And for someone that has admitted to struggling financially and that her bonus saved her, she won't be able to go too long without making some money. I hope she can figure things out and get back to fighting soon. Now, an update on Dana White-Jake Paul saga. The drama between Jake Paul and Dana White rages on after both of them traded insults and challenges last week on social media. It has been one big mess, with both men accusing each other of drug use and White calling Paul some choice names. Jake Paul has said that he would do a UFC fight, but called for UFC fighter salaries to be raised. Now it has become pretty clear that this is not going to happen, and White has said he would never work with Paul. Leaked drug tests in the meantime has shown that Jake Paul has nothing in his system. The two haven't stopped trading jabs with one another, but fans don't expect to team up anytime soon. Share your thoughts on today's stories with us in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.